We're here.
Here we go.
Number
Live
3.
on the porch again.
And we got some exciting news for you. Roger and I were just talking, and we were looking at ourselves in the video, and we're going to today share the entire time with our weight watching and exercise regimes, which have worked so well for both of us.
Oh, Lord. Oh, God. Yeah, buddy. Slim and trim. Oh, boy.
And let me make sure we've got everybody going. No, I don't see anything here yet, but. So, Roger, how's your week been?
It's been a good week. I've seen a lot of what I would consider really interesting educational pieces, things that kind of I didn't know. I always love to be in a place where I thought I knew, but I was wrong. I didn't know. And so I always want to be in a place where I'm educatable. And that's, I think, important to me, is to, I think there's a lot of information out there that we just don't access, that is available to us. And so I think I've listened to a number of who I consider smart people talking about things. And so that's what I would consider a very successful week.
Well, let me tell you what I learned this week. Did you watch Today's Show this morning?
I did not. I worshipped at the bedside Baptist this morning.
Did you know they said that 51% of all Monopoly games end in what?
People getting frustrated and putting it back in the box is what I think.
Exactly, an argument.
Yes. Oh, that's the truth. That's the truth. I can remember as a little kid, always the smartest kid in the group said, "Let's play Monopoly." Mm-hmm. And you were like, oh, man, you hated that because you knew this was not going to end well. It was just not going to end well. And I think that has been a pattern of life, Rick, that people who think they've got a lock on the game of life, the lock on work, the lock on a marriage, the lock on a relationship, always are ready to play it their way. And they don't seem incredibly flexible at doing it other people's way. And that's really the success of people in marriage, the successful people in other ventures, is the ability to play Monopoly in a way where it's, let's have fun. This is a game. Let's enjoy how it goes and not have a plan. But you can always tell people that you play with that say, I'm going to buy every bit of Park Place or every hotel, or, and you're like, oh my goodness, and it just becomes tedious. And I've seen people in marriage like that.
Well, I think the transference is just that. I mean, they said the number one part of what creates the arguments is people who make up the rules as they go along.
Oh boy.
And how does that work for us in life when we make up the rules as we go along?
It does not work well at all. And we think the thing, Rick, that really disturbs me is people thinking they're smarter than they are, and that the person they're with is dumber than they are. And I keep saying, wait a minute, if the person was so dumb, what did they do choosing you? Didn't you think that was a good choice? And most of the time they go, yeah, I thought that was a great choice. Well, if they thought like that choosing you, don't you think they'd think that way about other stuff? And people don't make that connection. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh, we got a problem here. It's not going to work well.
And
got something coming in the way?
Yeah. Isaac Feynman has joined us. It took me a while to figure out.
Good to see you. I hope life's treating you well and you're having a great holiday season.
I think Isaac is having a great holiday season. I was able to speak to him on the phone the other day, and it sounds like some exciting things are going on in his life.
I love it. Yes. And, a lot of his ministry is doing so well. He's right on the cutting edge, and it's about not just talking about it and sitting in an office, but being out with the people. Mm-hmm. And I think Isaac and what he's doing is about being out with the people. And I think that's the way it is for so much of a situation, Rick, is that people want to talk about it, but they don't want to get in the middle of it. And does it get dirty? Yeah. Is it hard? Yeah. Are you going to get sweaty? Yeah. But that's what it takes to make things successful.
And if we go back to the idea of playing by the rules, and going back to the relationships and marriages and so forth, I remember being exposed the first time to your pyramid over at Brookwood Church when you and I spoke over there one time.
Uh-huh.
And why don't you just share how God helped us set up the rules for relationships and marriages in general regarding the priorities and the pyramid scheme?
Well, I think one of the things people are struggling with, Rick, is that the core issue, it's about choice. We want somehow for God just to make the way, make the path, everything good, everything smooth, and it's not like that. You know, he gives you free will, and in free will you have choices, and in choices, the choices you make have so much to do with the journey of your life. And so the one thing you have to look at is people get into a relationship with, I'm going to give, I'm going to give, I'm going to give, and that's going to work. If I just give it all, it's going to work. But the truth is, if you don't take care of yourself, and that's where Rick and I talked about that last week on Southern Porches. We talked about a very powerful word, boundaries. And if you want to understand boundaries more, Cloud and Townsend have done a Christian book on boundaries. And it's so important. It's so important in making everything work, is that I have a boundary, that my yes means yes and my no means no. That's incredibly powerful. So in my pyramid, it's important at the top for people to have boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then the next thing I need to look at is my spouse, if I have one. Okay. And then after my spouse comes my children. And people know when they're a priority. And what happens a lot of times is in romance, people take their spouse to be, or their present spouse, who they may be romantic with, and they put them, at the most important person in their life, not above themselves, but above everybody else. And the person can sense that. They don't have to know that concretely, but they sense that I'm the most important. But as time goes along, we get lazy and we put our spouse, our children farther down the list, and we take work and we move it up and we make it the most important thing in our lives. And then we say to our spouse, our children, you guys ought to understand, wait a minute, I got to work, I got to make money, I got to do this. And they don't realize the price they pay by putting things above their spouse and their children. And then you go, your boundaries, you're important, then your spouse, then your children, then your family and very close friends. See, as we're going down, you're setting a priority, and priorities around choice give value. The higher things are, the higher the value is. And if people need to feel valued, especially if it's a personal relationship like a spouse, like children, like family, it's important for them to know, hey, I rate, but I see people, and you do too, that come into therapy, and you can tell by the way they're talking that their spouse doesn't rate. They just, you said you love, I like that old joke where the guy goes, I told you I loved you 20 years ago. If I change my mind, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
That's what happened. We laugh at that, but that's at the core of so many marital problems, is that people are devalued. I felt like I was the most important person in the world when we said I do, but every day I'm losing ground. Every day I'm losing value. And I'm telling you, it doesn't take long before other people, other things are going to grab the value of that person. And then you're in trouble. You have affairs, and you have people who emotionally have left a marriage. They may still be there physically, but emotionally they're somewhere else.
If I think it's no shock that you and I hear a lot about couples that will come in that are in either crisis stages or close to crisis stages. And that's one of the first indicators, or what they're talking about, is they've turned into roommates.
Oh boy, Rick, that is so powerful. That word, I cannot tell you how many people married over an extended amount of time are now roommates. people look at them and go, "Oh, they're perfect. They're Prince Charming and the princess." No, they're miserable. They've learned how to put on a facade. And that's another thing. If you got a lot of money, you can put a lot of varnish on a bad piece of furniture and make it look good. It's still a cruddy piece of furniture.
What's the old saying? You could put lipstick on a pig, but it's still a pig. So.
You bet. And there's a lot of people got some, they've got the top of the line lipstick on the worst pig in the market. They have so lowered. It's not that the person is a pig. Your value of them, your choices around them are telling, and you turn very good relationships into a pig. And isn't that so sad, Rick? That is so sad.
And it doesn't have to be. That's the sad part. Is I remember years ago, and I forgot where I heard it, but someone telling a story about the wife was, talking about when they were dating. She lived up in Michigan, and he was down in South Carolina, and he had an old car that the windshield wipers didn't work well, and he'd drive up to see her in the wintertime, and he'd be out outside the car trying to keep the windshield.
Amen,
and they get married, and then he won't go out and start the car for her on a cold morning.
Will that preach? That's exactly the way it is. You ought to see how people, I can't believe how many people, because they couldn't stand not seeing the person, would get up at 2, 3 in the morning, and they would drive during the nighttime to be there to see the person. And what that really showed was you're valuable. You're valuable. And that sustained value comes with choice. People, you don't think they don't, like Rick was talking about, you think they don't care if I go start the car. I'm telling you right now, oh yeah, they do. They really care about it. And they'll say, "Do you mind?" And they will tell you, sadly, no, that doesn't matter. And I'm telling you, they're lying. They're lying. It does matter. And you just need to remember the type and value of your choices has everything to do with the longevity of your relationship. If you want a relationship to be quality for a long amount of time, make high-level choices throughout. And if you do, and you see people, it's not unnoticeable. There are people who do well in business, and they do well at business, and I want to say to our viewers, at a cost. Okay? Can you be very successful in business? You bet. But your marriage takes a blow, your children take a blow, your family take a blow, your personal life take a blow. How many people do we see getting into their 50s and their 60s that they're done very good in business, but their health is in the toilet, man. Mm-hmm. They have all these kind of problems because they've made bad physical choices. They didn't put physicality in their regimen. I love how I was looking at Facebook, and I've noticed on Facebook that some of the people that are in the radio business are in the gym, and I'm thinking, genius. See, they realize, wait a minute, I like doing radio. I like interacting with these people. But what's happening as I get older, I can't sustain it. It takes a certain amount of energy. And if I've not exercised and taken care of myself, I don't have what it takes to get up for the game.
Yeah. And speaking of the game, Kim has brought up a good point too. He brought up several good points actually, but talking about one thing is to load the dishwasher, want to see the microcosm of their marriage, and I don't know, Kim, if you are talking about the same thing I experienced. I know for Cheryl myself, I can do a lot of things in life, but apparently I'm not a good dishwasher holder.
Well, yeah. Now, one of the things, again, though, I think it's about choice. Yes, I may be a cruddy dishwasher loader, okay, given, and that they may be a better dishwasher loader. But you've got to look at your choice of willingness. If I go and load the dishwasher with a positive attitude, I can load it cruddy, okay? And because the partner can see, wait a minute, what's my attitude? But when I give a land, they can be doing it. Well, then their thought is, I'd rather you not do the dishwasher. And I was under the assumption that you cared. I was under the assumption that this relationship meant something. But if you can't load the dishwasher for me or for us with a better attitude, and I love, and this made me think, Rick, on one thing of foreplay. A lot of foreplay, people think, happens at the end of the night. No, it happens early in the morning. How have you treated that person? What have you done with that person? Where have you put their priority? And if you do that over and over again, that is powerful foreplay.
Well, and I want to give credit. Unfortunately, my old feeble mind is not remembering well anymore. But there's also, I remember hearing many times, as we talk about the gender specificness, and that, for women regarding just that connection and so forth, are like the old steam on the locomotive where you got to get it going and start it up and get it rolling real fast. Get it rolling before it really starts going on.
Yeah, you got to put coal. You got to choose to put coal in. A lot of people put no coal and say, no engine.
Right, you start the day off and you start that relationship building in the morning and you start that connecting first thing. While we men, of course, are blast furnaces, it doesn't take much. Gail.
Push the button. Yeah. We're ready.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
If somebody said, what's foreplay for a man? That's showing up. But that's not the way it usually works. It's how people view their value. Is it easier to kiss on someone you have at a high value? And the answer is yes for both people. I value you, and you feel valued. That is powerful. That is powerful stuff.
Gail asked, okay, we have a problem. We're going back to the dishwasher. And actually, it was easily fixed. There really wasn't a problem, Gail. It's just that I just don't load it like Cheryl likes it. But I still load it, and it was an easy problem to fix. Is Cheryl's a wise woman, and she just knew that she'll come behind me and do it like she wants to do it, and life goes on.
Well, and the other side, Rick, is you have a choice to convey teachability. Am I willing to learn? And usually when people get married, they feel I already know it. My mama taught me. My dad taught me. I've learned it all. So I've married you with this set of rules that I'm not going to move. And boy, that's a fight waiting to happen. But see, if it goes to loading the dishwasher and you realize, wait a minute, she does load it better. Okay, that's being teachable. Then watching how she does it, that's being teachable. Then making an effort to do it a better way, that's teachable. That shows priority. That shows value. That makes a big difference in people's relationship with each other. And that's another thing that when it comes to children, I see a lot of parents, I want y'all to do this and I want y'all to do that. And they want to boss their children around. And I said, do you think at some point that doesn't play well? That a child grows up to a point to where they're resentful of that. And even a spouse is resentful of that. So it's important to build the relationship, to have it win-win, to have it where I show whatever you're trying to tell me is not a fight, but a teachable moment. That is powerful.
And, we as human beings, we're designed to seek significance. And we're going to find our significance either through positive or negative reinforcement. And our reactivity is either through negative or positive reactivity. And one of the things, in marriages and relationships is when we both learn to give significantly in a positive way and to react significantly in a positive way, and we're talking about love. And we're, we are in a culture today that defines love as feelings. And when we understand that love has never been based on feelings, it's based on actions. Words and feelings don't do it. And that's what creates the frustrations and I hear you, what you're saying, or I just don't feel in love. How do you fall out of love? You don't fall out of love.
Well, you don't fall in love.
Yeah, exactly.
You fall into passion and you fall out of passion.
Lust, passion.
Passion is what people, I think, call love.
Mm-hmm.
If I've got some heat, ooh, buddy, I love you. If I don't have any heat, I don't love you. And they don't realize, like we talked about before, I think that I place you at a higher priority, and that's what I think in a marriage a lot of times happens. A man walks in and he's with someone he's interested in, and what he's doing is he's putting his mother and his dad before his spouse. Don't think they miss that. And then I say I do, and I still do that. Don't think they don't get that. They do. It's when you really see a marriage, really going forward and really being successful, is when a man walks in and a woman can tell, I have a higher priority than the kids. And that's what happens too, is people have kids and then they take all their affection and their love and their energy and put it toward their kids and then wonder, why is my spouse unhappy? I can tell you why your spouse is unhappy. They've been lowered in priority. Now the kids are number two. And that's also, Rick, why second, third, fourth marriages do so poorly. Is what happens is people move their spouse out. They put their children in there. They put their children very high. A new person comes in, and their children are resentful being placed down. And the spouse doesn't take energy to have the new spouse raised up to the second position and to show you're more important than my parents. You're more important than my kids. It's not that I don't show them priority. I just don't show them as much priority as you. And if you don't think people are reading that, you're wrong. They do read that.
Well, blended families too. That's a whole nother.
Well, we need to get on the porch and talk about blended families.
We are going to talk about blended families because, again, like you said, it's we're lucky now within a local church, 40 to 60% of the congregation is made of some type of step family environment. And you're right, divorces do increase over each marriage. But again, people think that it's the other person's fault, and they don't realize that they're bringing the same problems into the second, third. I just saw where Jaja died at 99 after her ninth husband, and but she had a cute little joke. She said, I always told people I was a good housekeeper. Every time I got a divorce, I kept the house. But yeah, and when we start realizing that, if there's, like they say, if there's a point in relationships, and there is one factor that's always the same, it's always going to be us. Because we can change wives, we can change girlfriends, we can change workplaces, we can change bosses. But if we still have problems in these relationships, let's look at what the one mutual factor, or what the one factor is that's the
one thing that's in common with everything is us.
And that's one thing we don't ever want to look at.
No, man. It's all about, if I don't like a car, change car. If I don't like a house, change a house. But there comes a time, again, as we know, growing older, where that's too much. You're 20, when you don't like something, you get rid of, hey, it's another one coming around. I was talking to a person the other day, said, I'm struggling with dating. And they're like 60 years old. And I'm like, well, what are you struggling with? Well, when I was 20, I'd go out, I had 5 people to date. If somebody didn't do what I wanted, I got rid of them. Said, I only have one person that's available today. And if I get rid of them, I might not see another person for a year. I said, oh, yeah. So you have to, and this is the sad thing, you're going to have to look at you. And you're going to have to look at what your expectations are. And what I've seen is, if your expectations today, when they've been adjusted, had been there when you were young, you wouldn't have that problem today. It's because you denied that and thought that, this person I could see had always expected to have a pool of people to date. So getting rid of people didn't mean anything to them.
And, the interesting about life, it's some of the tricks it plays on you. if we make it another 20 years and make it to a nursing home, we'll be the most popular people there because men don't make it to the nursing home too often. But speaking of weight,
oh boy, that's a tough life though.
That's another thing I never understood God about is when I was in high school, I hung around with a bunch of guys. They used to be called Blue Monsters because they were big guys, and they played football. And so my friends played football. I wanted to play football. I was 145 pounds in high school, and the coach just nicely said, "Rick, you're not big enough to play football."
Yeah.
Well, God in His sense of humor, I'm now 62, about the right weight. 200.
Yeah, you're at 60, man. I've got it. I'm ready for the game.
I did just see where that guy stayed at 55.
I love that. Oh gosh, that's so true. Oh my goodness. Yeah, you finally made the weight class at 60. What?
Yeah. So you can be a stud at 20, you can be a stud at 85, but in between.
That's it. Well, and you know, it's so important that we are the consequences of our choices, and our marriage is the consequence of our choices, and our parenting are the consequences of our choices. We really need to examine what kind of choices we're making. And if you can't get in a place where you're making positive, progressive choices, then I don't care how you feel. It doesn't matter how you feel, because in the long run you're going to fail. Choices are going to make a difference for you, and better choices, better life. Better choices, better wife. Better choices, better everything. And it's sad that we've got to be in our 60s before we're making any functional choices. Which is sad.
Well, so choices have consequences. Yeah, I wish I'd known that 20 years ago, too.
Ooh, well, I'm sure it was out there, Rick, but I made the choice not to listen. You know, run fast, run hard. You know, we grew up in the generation where, you know, live fast, run hard, die young. All good. You know, until you got to that dying part. Like, oh, wait a minute. This doesn't seem like the best plan in the world. I think I want to stick around. Oh, well, you've made choices that are going to follow you, and you want to stick around, but you don't want the consequences of, that doesn't work real well. And so, you know, it's important. And you see people that have thought out their choices. You know, there were people that I could tell in high school, they really thought where they were going to school. They really thought who they dated. You know, that it was a real thought out problem. And they have done so much better. And the people that were freewheeling, for the moment, they were living large, but now they're struggling. You know, you can't keep making bad choices and expect good results.
Yeah. But the good news is, too, that it's never too late until, like I said, we are 6 feet under, that we cannot start making better choices. If we're having challenges with our children, it's always possible to make better choices on how we do that. If we're having challenges with relationships, there's always opportunity to make better choices on that. We just learned, that's going back to the idea of the monopoly. There are rules to this game of life.
Yeah, yes. And when I love what you're saying there, Rick, and I hope people hear that. It's never a bad time to change your choices. It's never a bad time to change courses. Is it going to be tough? Yeah. You know, is it tough? Yeah. But you're going to down the road, you know, children that you have not done well with, you know, they want to love you. Are you giving them a chance? You know, if you're in a relationship and it's not going well, are you giving it a chance? And that's the important thing.
And even when we come to what we think are the most crisis parts of our lives, I don't try to figure out how to share this without sharing too much, but you know, one of my favorite couples I've ever worked with, it was an affair in the situation, and but they both made the choice that they were going to save their marriage, and they both put the effort into saving the marriage, and they're doing great now. And I remember she had one of the best uh, sayings I've ever heard. She says, "This is what it took for me to have the marriage I've always wanted. Well, it's not what I would have chosen, but the outcome was what they needed." So they took that Phoenix and what was the crucifixion became the resurrection out of that.
Well, right, and I love that. But people need to hear. Was it bad? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did it immediately, a lot, like, we're going to save this marriage, everything get better? No. You've got to go through a lot of mud, till you get to a place where you can get cleaned up. And so if you've chosen to create a lot of mud in your life, it doesn't come off in a second. I'd love for that to be the case. And I think people, Rick, you can attest, come to therapy thinking, I'm going to come in here, I'm going to shower for an hour, I'm going to go back, I'm going to be all clean and shiny. And it's not like an emotional car wash. That isn't how it works. You've got to go in and you've got to wash many times, and you've got to buff many times, and you've got to wax many times for it to all come off. Now, if you've chosen to make that commitment, if you've chosen to get through the mud to get to the clean side, it's just like that woman talked about. Yeah, I hate it. I wish we wouldn't have gotten dirty, but we did. And if this is what it takes to get undirty for us to have a clean relationship, wow. Yes, it's worth it.
And if we only take a bath once a year, we get pretty stinky, don't we? Just so.
Oh, man. And I always love when I look at people and say, if you would have acted this way, the way you are acting now, back when you were courting, when you were dating, when you were getting to know a person, what would have been the consequences of that? And the answer would have been, oh, they wouldn't have given me a second thought. Yeah, no, they wouldn't. But now they're supposed to just fall all over, because I don't do the basic things. And Rick, it's back to kind of, we're going full circle here, but the fact is, if you're a priority, when I was dating you, you were a priority. If I choose to make you a priority again, and I make certain choices to show, wow, that is true therapy. That is true change. Mm-hmm. And if you don't think the other person is watching, that you do basic things well and you choose to do them, you're not, haggard about it. That if you do it, they've used up so much energy, it wasn't worth it. You think it's like back in the old days when you used to get a star for doing the spelling bee. Mm-hmm. Well, if you're looking for your spouse to give you the star, or your children to give you a star for you doing the basics and making them a priority, no, that's not going to happen. You need to do that free of any reward. And in the long run, what I'm telling you today is that is going to pay off. You are going to be happy with that, with the results of that. I'm going to put you up as a priority in my mm-hmm. life. So I love that it's important that the woman in this relationship looked and said, is this bad? You don't go to therapy and it unbads something. That's what I love about people. They come to therapy. Can you make this unbad? Can you make this affair unbad? Can you make these bad choices unbad? And I want people out there to know, no, bad choice, bad choice. Fair, bad choice. Lowering the priority of your spouse, bad choice. Those are all bad choices, and they have bad consequences, and things do not go well. I cannot keep abusing my family, my spouse, my body forever.
Yeah, and Kim's brought up a good point, and he's saying no commitment, talk about marriage again, and that's exactly what made this successful. Is they made the commitment that they were going to save this marriage. Yes, it was hard emotionally at first. It was hard, yeah. And sometimes we have to hold their hope for them until we can give it back to them.
Yeah, hold the hope. And I would really want to interject in here, Rick, that they might have made a choice for the relationship, but what they really made the choice is for the hard stuff. That there's therapy for us. We get people come in here all the time, and the hardest thing for a therapist is to get them to make a commitment to the hard choice. See, that couple made a choice to do the hard work to be committed. Is it easy to be committed? No. Is it easy to be married? No. Is it easy to raise children? No. That's why you have to make a commitment to the hard stuff. I don't want to sell, easy doing. I love you. I love you. And we walk out hand in hand in the sunset. It doesn't work that way. We got to get out there and we've got to do the hard work. Being committed is hard. Being a parent is hard. You know that. And that's, if there's anything I've learned as I've grown older, is the difficulty of living life better. That is difficult. But I've seen people who do it every day, and wow, they get the benefit for that.
Yeah, we're living in a culture where instant gratification is now the norm, and the idea that it takes time and commitment to change anything is not instantly, and so we're battling that. And do they have an app for that? My spouse,
that's the gospel truth, man.
My spouse just died, and I'm feeling sad. Do they have an app for that I can, And...
Right. And I want to be able to snap my fingers and everything be better. And no, I love how people somehow, it's like digging a ditch. Is there an app for that? No, there's not an app for digging the ditch. You got to go out and get a shovel. You got to go stick it in the ground over and over again. And as you do this in the heat and the sweat and the toil and the dirt, eventually, you've dug the ditch. That says more about life. And then, but people again out there are making millions of dollars selling people the Ditch the Dig app for their marriage, the Dig the Ditch app for their parenting. Oh, if you just get this program for $9.95, this is an app for digging the ditch. Well, as I've lived longer, the less success I've seen from those. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's about doing the hard work. We were talking last time about codependency and toxic people, okay? And I found a statement by Maya Angelou, who is she just recently died and is a famous author and poet and friend of Oprah Winfrey. And I think she hit the nail on the head as it comes to codependency and toxic people and how they're bad for your life. And I want to read this to our viewers. What she said was, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. See, a lot of times, and Rick and I have seen this, where when we talk to people who've been in a bad relationship or a bad situation or around toxic people, we say, did they ever tell you that they were actually not nice people? And as they sit and think, they say, well, way back, in this one moment, they did say, but I just thought they were kidding. And I love what Maya Angelou said. No, people have a tendency to tell you they're funky. They have a tendency to tell you they're bad. And we have a tendency to ignore it and to gloss over it and say, oh, they just weren't with the right people. They weren't in the right situation. And that is wrong. We need to listen to people. They will tell us who they are. People have a tendency of knowing themselves greater than they give themselves credit for.
Yeah, our challenge, though, now we're going back to relationships. And if you read Soul Healing Love by Bev and Tom Rogers, and I highly recommend it, they talk about when we fall in love, like I said, we don't fall in love, we fall in love. Actually, we fall in addiction because these wonderful brain chemicals go off in our head.
Right.
That makes the whole world brighter, beautiful, better.
Oh.
We're quote unquote in love, and then you got somebody saying, Roger, do you know she's kind of weird? Oh no, Rick, she's just a passionate person.
Oh yeah.
Roger,
Right, we have all kinds of. What you're saying is, if we go down the road and it says dangerous left turn, and we keep going at the same speed, when we get to that turn, we're going to wreck.
Mm-hmm.
And that's people's lives. It's not like they haven't been given signs. People will tell you who they are. Believe them. When they say, I'm just really not good at this.
Mm-hmm.
Believe them. I have a problem with substances. Believe them. They're not lying to you. They're telling you the truth. And once you say, oh, that's okay. If you don't think they're toxic and they're going to use and abuse you, that is a train wreck.
And Kim brought a good point. And then, like Kim says, then we're the ones hoping that they'll change.
Love changes all.
Yeah,
and I know this other person they were with didn't have what it took to change them.
Yeah.
I have what it takes. Boy, I want people to hear out there, that's a setup. That's a setup.
Mm.
They're testing you. They're qualifying you. That they're grooming you to see if you're a good candidate to be used and abused. If you say, well, I put myself out there and they're not going to use and abuse me, I want you to hear today, you're in denial. That's what the case is. Because given the time, given the power, given the space, they're going to use you. And sadly to say, and they may be, in a high position somewhere. They may be a member of a church somewhere. They may be a pillar in society. I want people to know, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. The bottom line is they're grooming you. They're toxic. They know they're toxic. And early in the relationship, they've told you. And the bad thing is you've not listened. And because of that, are you going to pay the price? Oh, this person would never. And I want you to hear today, oh, yeah, they would. Oh, yeah, they would. And I can't believe how many people I've talked to, Rick, in speaking and in doing therapy, as I've questioned the early stages of the relationship, that this person told them they were bad news, and they ignored it. To their own peril. I mean, and it ended up where things got, and this is one I hear all the time. You don't know them like I know them. And I say, don't need to know them like you know them. I just need to be you need to do something I'm doing, which is I'm listening. I'm listening straight up. I'm listening to the information they're giving me. And so much of the time, I don't like the information because the information says, let it go.
Yep.
Move on.
Yep.
And I don't want to. So I stick in there. And what we're saying today and what I'm saying today is you're going to pay the price. You are going to get hurt. You can't hug on a porcupine and not get stuck. It just doesn't happen.
And, that spectrum between insanity and being in love is a very thin spectrum. They're very close together, and again, because of those brain chemicals, and it's not being derogatory towards being in love, as long as we realize that we are not thinking right when we have those brain chemicals going off in our head, and we have to be open to what people share with us and what other people see, because it's when we see it after the I do's is what it becomes destructive.
Well, and something we talked about last time on Southern Porches that I think is very powerful here. When people have powerful boundaries, that their yes means yes and their no means no, then they can fall in love, but they maintain their boundaries. Mm-hmm. Things work out better. Now, is that hard? Yeah, because in the flush of the passion, we have a tendency to lower our boundaries to make the relationship run smoother. and we don't look at, like you said, the long run.
Yep.
And so it's very important when you see people that my yes means yes and my no means no. I'm going to set these boundaries. I'm going to be in love. I'm going to have all that. Oh, it's all this. But wait a minute. As far as this goes, no. As far as this goes, yes. If you want life like this, I'm going to lay it out like that. Then those people do better. It's just fascinating. Well, they're just being too strict. No, they're being healthy. And healthy, boy, in the long run, wow. We're seeing, with food, with exercise, all that. If people eat better, if people exercise better, they live better. Talking about that nursing home deal. Do you want to go in the nursing home walking, or do you want to go in the nursing home in a wheelchair? There's the difference. If you make it to the nursing home at all, you may drop dead. I was thinking the other day, at 65, my grandfather, he's gone. He died, and that was it. Now if he died at that age today, you're thinking, what happened to him? Was he living a bad life? Well, no, he was just living. He was eating greasy food, and he wasn't exercising, and it caught up with him. And you can't keep dancing that dance and not have that consequence.
Yeah. And Kim's asking another good question about premarital counseling, and you're working with somebody and they just, you show these things and they just won't or can't change. Well, first of all, the can't is not something we all can change.
Yeah, that's deception right there. Right. That's a bold-faced lie, Rick. Yeah. I can't change.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist. That doesn't exist. Now, I may not want to, or it may be extra hard to change.
Well, let's go back.
But there's no change. That's absurd.
Yeah. And then, Kim, going back to the won't change, there's your red flag right there. I have had one couple years ago in premarital where I used that Prepare and Enrich, which is a great assessment tool. But I had to tell them I just didn't think this was going to work, because they could both change, but it was the won't change or trying to understand what it was. And so I think our job is to be that red flag sometimes. And will they listen to you? No, we can't force anybody to listen to us. But can we be that red flag, or say maybe you need to take some more time before you get married and work on these issues that we've discovered through the premarital work?
Yeah, and I want to admire anybody who does premarital work. I don't do premarital work because I've spent years suggesting to people, and their passion, they'll listen to me, they'll agree with me, they'll swear, okay, I hear you, and I'm going to change, until they walk out the door and passion hits them dead in the face. And everything I've said, it's amazing how many things I've said to couples beforehand, but the passion just overrides that, and they just ignore it. Oh, and you'll ask them, didn't we talk about that? Don't you know better? And the answer is, they'll say, I knew better, but I just couldn't bring myself. They were caught up in this is what, if I did that, here's what I hear all the time. If I did that, the relationship would end. And my thought is, good. Then that tells you that's a bad relationship. And they're thinking, no, I just couldn't do that. I would lose them. And so I had to give in. I had to do it this way. And what I'm thinking in the back of my mind, 5 years from now, you're going to be real tired of that. Mm-hmm. And where today you're willing to do that, 5 years into marriage, no, done. Put a fork in you. It isn't going to happen again. I don't want that to happen. I don't want it to be that way. And so they end it.
Yeah. And Anya, you're right. In the therapeutic process, and you as a counselor, if we don't see the motivation, and that's always the first thing I try to figure out is, in couple work, do I have two motivated individuals that are there? And so if I start off and say, what brings you guys in? And if one of them says, he or she made me come, I know right there.
Yeah, that ain't going to do it. Yeah. That's the truth. Yeah. That's the truth, Rick. And again, it's fascinating how people will spend all kinds of money to fix stuff they won't touch. Mm-hmm. That has been probably one of the most astounding facts for me as a therapist. I thought, boy, if you're willing to invest the time, the money, and the energy, we can turn this around. And what I see is they invest the time and the money and the energy. No, they're not spending that energy. You know, I'm looking, and you made a good point. I'm looking for the other person to change. I'm looking for the other person to make this better. The reason this marriage isn't good is because of who I'm married to, not who I am.
Right.
Oh, God.
Yeah, finger pointing we think it does a lot of good, and we learn it has no value at all. And counseling 101, we're never going to change somebody else.
Rick,
we only have the power to change
you know what comes to my mind, Rick, is an old Southern preacher who points one finger at somebody and say, them, and they'll realize that three of the fingers are pointing back at them. And boy, does that fit finger pointing. You know, if you're finger pointing at your spouse, you can pretty much count on three things that you're not doing that you need to do that would make a difference. And when people come in and they say, it's not them, it's me, and they both say that, and we're both willing to work on ourselves, now that therapist is going to look like Sigmund Freud. Woo! Well, look at all the change they made. I'm telling you, there's not a therapist out there that makes the change. It's the couple that makes the change. It's the people who come in that are willing to do the hard work. And if they do it, can a therapist help direct them?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. You know, if you're a good director, number one, and number two, are they willing to invest the energy?
Yep. We could
we look like geniuses of that all the time.
Work with them on finding the solutions, but we can't give them the solutions because that has to be discovered. And in the therapeutic process, you're there because you want behavioral changes, and you just need someone to kind of help you focus on what are going to be the solutions that are going to accomplish those changes in you.
Yeah. And to kind of sum up what we've been talking about today is we want to encourage you. Everybody has problems, everybody. And we want to encourage you to do the hard work. It's not easy. We do not want to sell easy betterment. We do not sell that here at Southern Porches. What we are trying to present to you is it's hard. And it's not for everybody. Boy, I wish some people would get the message. Marriage isn't for everybody. Having kids isn't for everybody. You know, working on a relationship isn't for everybody. You know, some of us need to say, I don't want to play Monopoly.
Yeah.
You know, that's no, thank you. Thank you. I want to be nice, but I just want to step back and say, I just don't feel like I'm right for this. And that's incredibly powerful. And we need to respect that in ourselves and in others.
And it's level of maturity. And, well, with that said, Roger, I think that's where we're going to have to finish today. So, again, thank you for joining us on the third installment of Southern Porches. We'll see you next Tuesday. Same time, same place. I've learned in Facebook you cannot play Happy Trails or any. No, you can't. You can't play any music.
Happy Trails to you.
Any copyrighted.
There's my childhood right there.
Yeah. Any copyrighted music you can't play on live because they won't post it. So we have to be. Well, you. I don't know if singing that is now good.
Wait a minute. I didn't call that singing. Most people wouldn't.
Yeah. I
was mumbling it.
I'm just kidding. Okay, so great seeing everyone. We'll see everybody next week. Same time, same place.
Take care.
And as you all watch me turn off. Oops.